to this Frightfest Halloween 2024 episode of the Caravan Tour of Terror, a show that finds us touring the globe through the medium of horrific, chilling and disturbing entertainment. My name's Donald, I'm the driver in this quest. Join me at my side, as always, with a road atlas on his lap and a delicious array of Japanese food from that Japanese centre that we kept visiting in between films, is my navigator, Ali. Say hello, Ali.
All right, governor.
Very nice.
Sorry, I'm still in the London mentality.
You've not mentioned apples and pears yet.
That's because we went down the escalators. Yes, this was our first time going to Frightfest London.
Yes.
Specifically the Halloween Frightfest that they hold in Leicester Square.
Yes.
And yeah, it was very different.
It was
very
very
similar,
different.
but it was also very different. One of the biggest
London's
differences.
so full of people.
London's. I'm not going to get into my thoughts on London. One thing I will say is that I adore the GFT, the Glasgow Film Theatre. A brilliant establishment.
I know you know it as well.
Yeah.
I said we highly respect the GFT and what it does.
Which we do. No, genuinely, I adore the GFT.
But
It is not a place to sit for 2 full days due to the amount of legroom you have.
full on recliner seats at the Lux.
Oh, it was unreal.
It was a
Every single
revelation.
movie, Donald and I were shoes off, legs up, food in front of us. It was see, to watch 9 movies. They should have done 11. They should have done
Yeah.
11 because it would have been great. I don't care.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird. It was at the Odeon, Lux, West End, and Leicester Square, but there's like 2 or 3 of them. There's like 2 in the square.
I think I counted 4.
That's right.
There's
I don't know
there's
why.
2 within Leicester Square, 1 and then 2 just off Leicester Square.
So it's the one that's underground with like 2 screens, and they really liked saying that it was Peter Jackson's favourite cinema, and he recreated
Yes.
it like the specs of it he used for his Weta cinema. It was a fucking good cinema. It was really
it was
nice.
brilliant.
It was very nice.
Really, really nice.
Staff lovely as well. Everything about it.
I've got to say, like, and it's due to the fact that, like fair enough. The staff in the GFT do a brilliant job as well.
They do.
But it is a bar
Yeah,
in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Whereas this is like people just going and doing their job at a cinema.
Yeah.
And they were brilliant, to be honest.
Yeah.
That staff were
Very accommodating.
absolutely
we
fantastic.
were worried about bringing in food, but they didn't seem to give a shit. Hence, we spent a lot of money at that Japanese centre to get all of our buns and things like that, or McDonald's or whatever the fuck. They didn't care. I was a bit worried.
Shake
they'd care.
Shack.
Yeah, Shake Shack, which was nice. I was a bit worried they'd
Yeah.
care because they're like a big chain. They turned a massive blind eye, or they didn't give a shit in the beginning, and it's fine. It's great.
There was always people at that concession stand, and to be honest, the food in that Odeon Lux was not bad.
Not bad, and we had a discount on food and drink. So
Yeah, 20% through the whole thing. You can't argue
if
with it.
nothing else, that side of it very good. Again, we're so sorry, GFT. We're sorry. I'm over 6 foot tall. It's really painful sometimes.
I mean, I'm just under 6 foot tall, and it's rough for me. So, considering you've done it 3 times, and then we had similarly tall Michael do it for Glasgow, we have always had a tall person suffer for this podcast.
The first time we went, we made the mistake of getting like normal cinema seats, so they were like in the middle.
As middle as you can get.
Yeah. And my knees were on fire for the last 3 films. On fire completely.
And you're 5 years older now.
So since then it has to be near the side so I can do some kind of stretch as I have to. So it is what it is. Like, you know,
it's more the stark contrast between the two experiences of a tiny little theatre, like very old fashioned, to the most modern theatre you could possibly
we love
imagine.
the GFT. We don't want to see it go anywhere. We're still going to go
Oh
back
god,
to
no!
Frightfest
Like
GFT.
I would fight to keep that thing open.
Yes.
I genuinely would. It's just such a different
It's
way
just
to experience a marathon of movies.
Okay.
And speaking of a marathon of movies,
Exactly.
we flew down on the Friday, which was the day it was starting. So it was actually quite handy handy for us not to have 11 movies because it meant we didn't have to get off the plane and go straight to the cinema.
That would be bad.
So our first movie was on the 1st of November at 6 o'clock. The movies here were staggered, which is different, I believe, from the Glasgow one. Because I know that the Glasgow one puts on individual movies from the season, from the festival, in the other screens. But this one was half-hour blocks. So
like we were in screen 1 and then screen 2 was showing a half hour later. Yeah,
exactly. And that actually worked out really well because there was usually about half an hour between the movies. So by the time we were all in, that other screen was coming out. You never actually really got that crossover.
Yeah.
But into the movies. So 1st November, our first movie at 6 o'clock was the UK premiere of Magpie, directed by Sam Yates, starring Daisy Ridley of Star Wars fame, Shazad Latif, who you might know from Star Trek Discovery, I believe, but every British person will know him as Clem Fandango in Toast of London.
I think people know who Clem Fandango is or have seen clips of that without seeing Toast of London. It was very zeitgeisty for a wee while there. People just like the clips of Clem Fandango, even if they don't watch the show.
So when Ben and Annette's daughter is cast in a film alongside glamorous movie star Alicia, Ben is quickly drawn into Alicia's world. As he becomes more intoxicated with Alicia and their affair intensifies, Annette is left at home with the baby, pushed to her emotional limits and on the brink of psychosis. A psychological chiller that knows its own strengths and brings them to the forefront. Magpie thrives in its classic neo-noir atmosphere, eliciting tension that is perpetually taut and seconds away from permanently snapping. Daisy Ridley delivers a tour de force performance as a neglected wife on the edge. And I will just say that all of these synopses will be straight from the Frightfest. Yeah. I am going by what they give us before we go into the movie.
Yeah. So chiller thriller. It was a good film. Daisy Ridley, her husband wrote it. Daisy Ridley was there, as was her husband, and it's quite funny because in the film, Daisy's husband is a failed writer, and then I'm like,
yes,
what? That's just a weird.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but he wrote
a failed writer who neglects his wife.
Yeah, I'm like, what? And Matilda Lutz is in it as well. She plays Daisy's love rival, and I know her from Revenge, which is
as do I.
Coralie, is it Fargay's first film before The Substance?
Yeah.
So that's it. There's a lot of in this film. There's a lot of it's him, it's her. Like it's got a good cast, and they're all uniformly very good. I thought even the child actress is very good because she has to portray a natural performance and then a child acting performance, and she did it quite well, I thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like there is a difference between that child's
performing,
performing out with the movie within a movie and within the movie within a movie, and it is so distinct and very well done. Like, she did a phenomenal job. And especially it's not a scary movie. It is a very uncomfortable movie.
I said uncomfortable as well. Yeah.
And for that, to have a child actress work through that, because you can rationalize and protect a child from horror a lot more than you can from uncomfortable situations. Genuinely, and that's not even the fact that they managed to do this and bring out such a good performance from her is such a credit.
Yeah, definitely.
I will say, Daisy Ridley. I thought,
was it a tour de force?
It was a tour de force. It was a phenomenal performance.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah.
I have really only seen her in the Star Wars movies, and to see her and not knocking her performance in those movies or those movies have their own. I've got my own opinions of them, but for her to actually get a chance to like let loose and act fully.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen her much else either. Yeah.
It's
nothing good.
And Shazad Latif, I have only ever seen him in comedy. And he is phenomenal.
He plays a twat real well.
Oh, he does. No, but
he's a very
really
good villain, genuinely. Like it's. I'd say it should be seen as like a really good villainous performance from like this year. It's really good.
It's phenomenal.
It's
like
possibly slightly ridiculous at times, but still really good.
yeah.
Slightly panto at times, but still really good.
But the thing with that panto is that the more the movie unravels, that actually becomes more.
Yeah, I will say we won't spoil things here. By the way.
No.
There
This is not going to be spoilers
for any of these films. We're not going to bother with that yet.
Yeah, this is these movies. A lot of them aren't even out. We're not going to be delving too much
Just
into it.
Just wee little bits of convo.
Yeah. So yeah, Shazad Latif. Oh my God, you hate him so much,
really
and like, but it's hard to put forward a performance that elicits that emotion as well as he did in that movie.
I was surprised afterwards in the Q&A. They were like, "Oh, did anyone identify with him, with the spouse?" And we were like, "No, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't think it's not that kind of film. I would say it's not what we.
It's not ambiguous at all. Like, there is a good person and a bad person.
There's a good person that does slightly fucked up things.
Totally. But there is a clear cut.
Yeah,
it's so.
Yeah. I was like, no, don't try to do that.
I think after that, in the Q&A, they literally said that in all the screenings they had, again, this is the UK premiere, so they've maybe screened it a handful of times, that they literally only had one person that said that they...
It is a good, twisting, psychological thriller, I'd say. It has a lot of anxiety horror elements to it, to me. There's a lot of real uncomfortableness, which... you see in films like Speak No Evil and All My Friends Hate Me. Is that the one?
That's the one that I was thinking. All My Friends Hate Me
that's a very pure distillation of that kind of idea.
But those two, like, if you like All My Friends Hate Me, it's not. It's similar in its feeling that it elicits out of you. And this is another one of them. So if you like All My Friends Hate Me, for that reason, this is definitely another one of those. I wouldn't say that they're similar thematically or in plot. It's just that they are.
Yeah, no, this is I think this has got a lot of mainstream appeal as well. It's a nice.
It's like cringe horror.
To a certain extent.
You want to just wrap yourself up and explode.
I was doing that a lot when we were watching it, but it's a good twisty noir thriller, really.
Yeah, and the performances are fantastic. I will say it's shot gorgeously. It doesn't hurt that they've got like a stunning house to film in. They've got this stunning manor with huge green grounds and they are mainly the two set pieces.
Yeah.
But no, it's extremely well shot. Lots of close-ups, especially of Daisy Ridley, and she uses each one of them to its fullest because a lot of those moments she is not saying a word, but the amount of emotion you get out of those moments is phenomenal.
Yeah. I believe it's not. You can pay to stream it, I believe, right now.
Okay.
I thought I'd seen it maybe advertised in Prime somehow. It's not part of Prime though, so you'd have to pay £4 or whatever. Anything else you want to say, or just thought? Or sorry, not thoughts. Score.
No, I mean, such a strong opener.
It was
such
a really good opener. Yeah, it wasn't. We'll talk about it later. It's not.
We'll talk about the overall flow of the.
Yes, yeah.
We'll talk about the overall flow and content of the festival.
I was going to do that after we talked about the film.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, okay. Same.
Give it a number right now. Number.
I'd give it an 8.
Okay, I thought you would. You sounded like an 8. I'm going to give it a 7, which isn't. It's that is a difference.
Funnily enough, after doing this for a couple of years, we start to know what the other one's going to score. Because I thought you would give it slightly lower than I would. I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too a lot.
Yeah, 100% worth a watch.
Yeah, I think so.
And by the way, 90 minutes.
Yeah.
90 minutes.
Very easy to recommend to anyone as well. It's not a particular...
It's one of the things. So I have recommended this movie to people since I've come back from London, and the first thing I say is don't worry if you don't like horror.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not
even,
that easy.
Even like there's some films in Frightfest that might push boundaries and things like that, or whatever. There might be content warning kind of stuff. This isn't that. There's no content warnings. There's no. I mean, other than a relationship that's gone to shit, which might be bad for some people.
Like, bar a few risque moments, you could probably watch this with your parents, kind of thing.
Oh, there's a
few risque
in the shower.
That is actually true. There's too much wanking. Scratch that.
Oh dear. Right. Continue.
Too much wanking.
Too much wanking. 7 out of 10. Continue.
Too much wanking. 8 out of 10. Next movie, second movie of the first day at 8:25 was Parvulos, which don't know what that means, but it did have a subtitle which wasn't listed here. It was on the title card of the movie, which is Hio de Apocalypse, which I believe is Sons of the Apocalypse.
Oh, very good.
I've probably butchered that, but apologies. I just wanted to add that in, that it does have a subtitle in. A thought-provoking UK premiere, a thought-provoking, slick and visually striking story about the lives of 3 young brothers tackling life in a post-apocalyptic infected world, shot largely in monochrome tones with flashes of colour for special moments. Living in a cabin in the middle of the woods, the trio hide a dark, disturbing secret in their basement in Mexican Itzhak Esban's 5th feature, rooted in primal emotional bond between parents and their offspring. Compelling and engaging, Esban's fantastic eye for carefully composed gothic tableau and his zombie Lord of the Flies makes Parvulos, translated as preschoolers, an arresting and shocking treat.
Parvulos. So, post-apocalyptic, as you said, it starts content warning with a lovely collie dog being shot and butchered for meat, and it's pretty detailed, and I was like... That's a strong opening. I wonder how they're going to go, because it's pretty...
I think I heard you exclaim when certain moments of that opening happened.
I don't remember what I was exclaiming. Maybe, oh dear.
Just that, like something along those lines. It wasn't. I'm not saying you swooned. I'm just saying there was.
Listen, I'm very hard to shock. I've watched a lot of fucked up shit, but I was just surprised that straight away it was like
dog death.
Yeah, and dog death is a thing, right? And dog death.
Especially in horror.
Yeah, it's got very ebbs and flows. It was the dog used to always live, and then the dog was always dying. Like, it depends what decade you're talking about. That people like to kill the dog for shock value, all that.
There's a reason that there's a movie, a website called "Does the Dog Die?"
Exactly. It's a total. It's like a weird. It's a thing. It's a pattern. And I was like, this is a very strong to present us with characters that kill this dog brutally and harvest it for meat, which I'm like, fine, that can totally work, because what you're saying is, hey, these people are in a really bad predicament, which they are, but it's also the level of detail on screen. I was like it's going to be hard to navigate this thematically and make us care about these kids when they're munching on old dog leg and I've got a dog in the house kind of thing.
Yeah. So the brothers appear to be at, I'm going to say late teens, so maybe 17 for the oldest brother, maybe about somewhere between 10 and 12 for the middle brother, and then 8, I think it was. I think he's the only one that they actually say his age.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
For the 3 brothers, the oldest brother missing a leg, which becomes... That gets
it's an ongoing challenge, and he reveals why and all that obvious.
Yeah, totally. Of course. So as it says, shot mostly in monochrome, and it's kind of like a sepia more than a monochrome.
It kind of pushes that sometimes, I felt, and then other times I was like, it's just turned, it's kind of just turned down a bit, or it's got a filter on it.
It's like a dull filter.
I thought it would be more of your sort of Schindler's List style thing, where it's very monochrome with scenes of color that will emphasize something, and it's not really like that. It's more kind of everything's a wee bit shifted to kind of emphasize like, you know, the world has kind of gone to shit kind of thing.
Yeah, and they also do quite a bit with the camera, the way the camera shoots certain aspects. And you didn't seem to notice this, but me and one of the others, me and one of the others that we were with definitely noticed this, was the fisheye lens that gets used.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that
for quite a few scenes
because it made you feel sick. I don't know.
Basically, it just didn't add anything for me to those specific scenes, and it also just made me feel sick.
Yeah,
like not in a horror way.
Sure, I'd notice more like, oh fuck, but no, I don't.
And I don't mean bad. Like I don't get. I was never one of these people when those the found footage movies, especially Cloverfield. A lot of people said it with
the fast movement.
That never happened with me. VR never happened with me. This just did not. I just felt a bit every time this happened, and it didn't add anything for me.
Yeah.
It's very well acted, I will say. The three main boys.
Kid actors again, totally fine.
Yeah,
totally fine.
Yeah,
no complaints.
Do a really good job.
Yeah.
So this one's 118 minutes, so just a touch under 2 hours, a bit longer than our first movie.
Yeah.
And I do feel it feels like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, because the with Magpie, that's a 90-minute movie that both felt longer than its runtime, but also never to a point where I felt like it was like everything just flowed well. Like that, you could have told me that movie was 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and I would have been like, all right, okay. Whereas this one, I could start feeling that 118 minutes start to
it's
weigh on me a wee bit.
Yeah, it's strange though, because there's characters
There's
get
not
introduced and they're kind of dipped in and then kind of resolved and kind of dipped in and kind of resolved. So I'm thinking back and I'm like, how did they spend those 2 hours? And I'm like, there's a bit of pissing about, but
there's a lot of pissing about.
We can't talk exactly about what they do for quite a long time. But what I will say is, it is quite. I found how the plot develops in the middle very tonally problematic because of how the film initially, the way it's shot, all the monochrome, the dog butchery, the dour mood, the dim and dour mood. Then there's like moments of like pretty much slapstick comedy. And I was like, this is hard shifts all over the place. You can't have the dog death and have the laughs. You gotta commit.
and I've talked about this before, but like having moments of brevity, having moments of lightness in a horror movie for me is almost essential. That is not what you're referring to. This was not like, right, we've built the tension up, we've had our moment, let's bring it back down, let's give them a wee chuckle. And then this was like a good, let's call it 3-minute sequence where it is full on like slapstick montage with like the music on the background.
It's like it's to the audience rather than being the characters having their own kind of moment of levity to an extent. It just felt weird. And I think we all felt that it was a bit weird.
Yeah, totally. And what that could have been used for is to bring like, hey, there's some hope, there's some they're trying to get to a certain level of normalcy, but it doesn't hit that way. It just hits as this weird like extra sequence where we're gonna just have some silly fun.
Yeah, it was odd. Now there's also a problematic element. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so because I was unsure, to be honest.
I'm also unsure.
Whereas again, one of the people we were with tends to be very black or white in these things, so they were 100% coming out of it as this and this.
They're right to do so.
No. I'm just saying how that conversation went. He's not going to listen to this anyway. And so the two things that caused it to be quote unquote problematic was, and this is not too much of a spoiler. This is just very high level. Is that medicine, cures or medicine gets dropped in.
Yeah.
And the people that are dropping it in are the Russians.
Yeah.
And they keep talking about how they hope that the Russians are going to fly over and drop stuff in.
Yeah.
Obviously, given the current climate, that's a bit
There's tensions with Russia and yes.
Yes. I also don't know when this was shot. This could have been shot 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
and then edited for a long time. I don't know.
Did we mention where this film takes place?
This takes place in Mexico.
Mexico. I'm not sure if we actually mentioned it specifically. Yeah.
No, we hadn't.
Yeah,
The film takes place in Mexico production.
Yeah.
Not a Russian production, not an Eastern European production. Yeah. And the other aspect was that
this is the worst one.
This is the one that really caused the contention.
I've seen people being annoyed about this, online and stuff.
Is that the thing that caused? So there was a pandemic,
not named,
not named pandemic, that caused a lot of people to get very ill. Then there was a vaccine that was quickly
rushed out,
put together. Yes. And that is what caused the apocalypse.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing that I find... Obviously, that's problematic for obvious reasons.
Yes.
The thing that I was like, right, okay, I can see it, but then... They are then talking about another vaccine that's just been worked on a bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. It's not anti-vaccine, it's anti-that vaccine, which still doesn't sound great.
Quick, I think see if this movie was not made within this current climate, those two things, and obviously that's how things work, that's how controversy works. But this wouldn't have even been blinked at in other horror movies 10 years ago.
It's a real touch. It's
a very touchy subject.
Yes.
And I don't know enough about the background of this movie, this director, this writer, to know that this is what he's actually going with. This could have been a movie he wrote 20 years ago just because he had a cool idea.
I will say categorically, it was probably unwise to make it now. Unless he was wanting to make a statement
or
about
wanting
this
to
subject.
Controversy, or at least
wanting to do that. If that wasn't his intention, I think it was not a good move.
So
to do
exactly, I can 100% see it from that side, but I am not willing to say that is the message that the movie wants to put across.
I agree. I think it's a jarring thing. I felt it's almost like you could sense in the theater when that line was said, the subtitle came up, everyone was like, oh dear. Oh no. And you could very quickly get lost in that thought when actually I agree with you. There's a vaccine that's a cure and there's a vaccine that caused it. It's not 100. I can't say for certain that this is like a bad message film or problematic leaning one way or the other.
Like, am I going to no longer play the Resident Evil games because no? But like, do you know what I mean? It's stuff like that. Like I can 100% see why, and you're so right. Like, to make this movie and release this movie in this climate, you are asking for controversy.
Yeah, you should be aware.
Yeah, you should be aware of it.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing was, the director was actually meant to be there, but I wasn't able to make it.
If he was, I think
I would have been
nervous. I think he would have got pelished.
I would have loved it.
Some people, definitely. I would have been uncomfortable. My anxiety horror would have been through the roof. I can't take that kind of controversy. Not controversy. I can't take confrontation. Sorry.
Yeah. So it's there is definitely some arguably problematic elements to it, but I am not willing to write a movie off just because of that.
I agree.
On to what we actually thought of the movie.
Yeah. So there's some good moments. There's some bad or odd choices. Film, like construction, as much as anything else. It was interesting. Parts were interesting. I'd say I thought it was okay. I gave it a passing mark of 6.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I think I remember coming out of the theater and saying, so I hadn't seen, or I had forgotten where it says in the blurb, it's Esban's 5th feature, and I remember coming out and being like,
I do remember you saying,
I don't know like how to feel about that. See if it says like first or second movie, like then I can give it certain passes because it has a lot of interesting ideas. He's going for something, but to see that this is a 5th feature film and to see the issues and not talking about the problematic aspects, talking about some of the ways it's shot, some of the ways that color palette
doesn't feel sick,
quite.
So I could
yeah,
agree.
no, totally.
You might not want to score it at 6.
that the some of the decisions the character just make no sense, and I don't feel that the color palette works as they commit to it. It's not a lack of commitment.
I agree.
It's a lack of knowing when to use it in its full effect and when not to.
Yeah,
it seemed inconsistent.
I don't
and
even
I think
know. Maybe it was slapped on afterwards. You know,
it could have been. Yeah, it could have been. And for me, I think it is a 5.
Yep.
It's just it never quite pushed past that.
I could see
it
why.
Again, there's so much little aspects that I can pick from this and go, oh, that's actually really good, and oh, that's really smart, or this performance was really cool. But there's so much else that I'm just let the movie down for me.
Yeah.
And it's not to say it like by the end of it I was hating it. It was just by the end of it I was like, right.
Well, you're just a bit disappointed. Yeah, I get that.
I
think that's fair.
So it's not a movie I would avoid. It's not a movie, like, it is interesting. It's just I can't recommend it.
Yeah.
I can't, especially given some of the other movies in this festival. I can't come out being like, oh yeah, thumbs up on this one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
fair.
It's a bit disappointing.
Absolutely fair. So next we move on to the last film of the evening.
Yep, 10:55. We were on our own at this point.
Yes. Our traveling partners had decided they were tired, they were going home, and they did not give a shit how this movie turned out.
Great sign. 3 movies in.
We were worried, but then they stayed for the rest of them, so that was fine.
They did stay so this is the last movie of the first day, and they stayed for all the rest of the movies in the second day.
They had the biggest scare of the entire weekend, which was they saw an attempted mugging on their walk home to their hotels. So that was nice. That was a good... for someone fresh to London, that was a lovely experience for them, I'm sure. And I was shitting my pants on our walk home after I read that text that said they'd seen that, but never mind.
It's so weird, like, because taking on a severe tangent here, we were walking and you were like, yeah, just watch out, there's people that go by and just snatch phones. And I was like, nah.
When they're on bikes or scooters or something. Yeah.
Not only was that exactly what they almost witnessed, an attempt at that, but we also walked past several signs saying, watch out, there's people on bikes that are going to snatch your phone. Not once was I like, no.
You thought I was like just listening to Fright Pieces and the Telegraph about how London's gone to the dogs or something, but no,
at no point was I actually worried in any sense.
I was edgy. I'd say edgy at best. I was a bit like, right, let's not have the phone out on this walk home. Let's just put the phone in the pocket and we'll just memorise where we're going. That kind of thing.
It's fine. We're fucking Glaswegians. Don't hear the accent. 10:55, our last movie of the day. Advent, which was our first world premiere.
Yes.
When a young girl... So this is one of the reasons why I read the Frightfest synopses, because as you've noticed on the previous episodes of Frightfest, sometimes they're just not proofread. When a young girl into urban legends unearths... I suppose cursed advent calendar, she seeks to find out if the dark stories behind it are true as she opens a door each day in the build-up to Christmas. Behind every door is a challenge that grows more disturbing as she starts to lose sight of who she is. As realities collapse, she may have also brought her mother back from the dead. Inspired by a terrifying true story of the Blue Whale game and adding a supernatural twist, this is a new kind of Christmas ghost story.
Advent, extremely low budget British horror, to be said at the
extremely
outset. Extremely low budget. I have a friend who did filmmaking at college. He made a short film. Genuinely, this film and that, there's not a lot of difference. Do you know what I mean? It is definitely, they didn't have a lot of money. They did what they could with the money they had. That is definitely something to say at the outset. You can tell it's low budget. You can tell. There's no fucking hiding it at this level of budget. You can't do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that at 77 minutes...
Which I said to you, I said, I am always worried when a film is less than 80 minutes long because it may not be a real film. It may be a very low budget film that they've had to artificially stretch to nearly... I don't know why, but they're usually just under or on 80 minutes exactly. There must be some reason why. Maybe it's a streaming platforms would not accept films.
I
that
think
are
there
less.
is certain things
Yeah.
that it's basically like it has to be over like 70 minutes,
Yeah.
or because that's basically just a feature episode of a
So
TV series.
I was concerned.
Yeah, 77 minutes is the second shortest movie of the weekend. Advent. Girl finds who's really into. She has a YouTube channel that she discusses urban legends, things like that, and she comes across the Krampus calendar.
Yes.
And it's done. A lot of it is done in a documentary style.
Yes.
Looking back at the. But back at the
footage she
what
shot
happened to
and
this
then-
girl,
yeah,
all her
yeah.
YouTube
So,
videos,
yeah.
and shout out to the documentarian that speaks to the camera, played by Nicholas Vince, the chatterer from
Yeah.
Hellraiser,
Yeah.
which was just a nice little it's him,
So yeah,
which is weirdly the second time we've seen him at Fright Fest.
yes. And we saw him in the flesh. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pseudo documentary found footage film. The director mentioned Lake Mungo. I don't know if you've seen Lake Mungo. I have seen it. It is very much. Lake Mungo is like, it's a very well done example of that, where it is like, it could be real. You could be fooled into thinking it's like a real story about a mystery kind of thing, and you get that kind of shit all the time on YouTube now anyway, so it makes sense. It's a good thing to
totally,
do.
yeah.
Or that terrible film you made us watch, Horror in the High Desert, which is also
That
one
one
of these,
is just
which
hilarious.
is also one of these kind of
It
things.
is one of these, but way worse.
Lake Mungo and YouTube have given a lot of low budget filmmakers an avenue to make this sort of film, and this is one
Absolutely.
of those, which isn't a bad thing. I'm just saying it is one of those, and it kind of touches on viral challenges. The director mentioned the Momo challenge, which was bullshit. It wasn't true, but these kind of Momo. Momo was a
No, I know the Momo challenge, the horrible face,
Yeah.
but I didn't know. What do you mean it's not true?
It's not. So it was a.
It was never
It never existed. Yeah, there was a scare story.
It was a
going
fake
around.
It was a fake story about an urban
Yeah,
legend.
there was a scare.
Then
your kid
Right.
was going to get a face onto their phone, and it was going to tell them to do stuff. That never actually happened. It was just made up. But people thought
the blue
it was
whale
happening.
one is more true, I believe.
The thing with these
it's
things,
not-
the thing with these things is
the thing
someone
that-
could do it after hearing the falseness.
Momo
Momo can't have happened because it was like a thing that actually came up on your phone and told you, and no one went to the
Yeah.
bother of making that real.
Yeah. And so the blue whale one is basically the same thing, but without a Christmas theme.
Oh, right, okay. It's just challenges you
Yeah.
do. Yeah, that's
They
definitely
get
more
progressively worse.
That's definitely more. Yeah. So I was disappointed about that aspect of it. So she's opening doors, doing challenges, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna park the low budget stuff. It is fucking low budget. It's set in
Oh, yeah.
basically a flat and a garden. They can't do anything about that. I'm not gonna bother, right? I was really disappointed that although there's 24 windows in the calendar, and you're going through them one by one, you're starting losing your sanity. I think the third or fourth was a repeat, and then there was a lot of fucking repeats. Do the thing again, and I'm like, oh, fuck off. You have to creatively think of 24 challenges here.
Not even 24. I would have forgiven two or
Brushing
three
over a
repeat
few.
days.
Yeah.
A couple. But there are it's the two points that go together is that they repeat quite a few. I'm going to say maybe between 5 and 10 days of 24 they repeat.
Yeah.
Including it's something like the 20th to the 23rd, they just go, oh, these were all repeats. On we go.
Yeah,
Like literally, they just say.
So they're three
like,
repeats because you've already seen it repeated. Probably
Because I was confused because it jumps to like 4 days later, and then it just goes, oh, by the way, these were all repeats.
Yeah, there's a problem. They
77 minutes is my problem with that.
They weren't fucking able to come up with enough challenges. They weren't.
And that is arguably my biggest complaint with the movie. It is a short movie, which I've got no problem with, but then they're just like, yeah, and then these 6, 7, 8 were all
Now,
repeats.
I will
And it's
also
like,
say, I don't know how much. I mean, Nicholas Vince, the chatterer, is in this film a lot as a talking head. Now, he's necessary because he does explain some things that are happening, but also he feels like he's been jammed in to get us to that 77-minute mark. To me, he does a lot of talking, a lot of monologue. I like him. I like his presence. I will say the audio on some of his monologues did not match the rest of it. I don't think it was balanced very well. Like his ambient sound, he's in front of a crackling fire, and you can tell that they're like, "Oh shit, this fire's too loud. we need to play about this equalizer a bit." But I mean, he must account for about 15 minutes, and I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
they have used all their Nicholas. They had him for a day or two. They've used it all. They have not been able to find enough challenges, not been able to think about it." Maybe it was budgetary. They didn't have enough to play with. They didn't have enough scenes. I can understand that there's maybe they had ideas that they could not make a reality for their film, but it still results in a very weak film because of it.
Yeah. Because that is the whole movie.
Yeah.
That is the whole movie. There is very little, I will say, other parts around this movie where it isn't challenges.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not even that you couldn't think of 24, it's the fact that they couldn't come up with 20.
Yeah.
Like, you felt it. You literally felt it while watching the movie.
Yeah.
Especially since some of the challenges are pretty cool. Like, see the way that it slowly builds in intensity, the way that it's like, it's not actually sinister, but you can tell that there's something off about it. That all worked.
And hey,
there's
some scares as well, to be fair.
There's some pretty good moments.
Yeah,
where,
there is.
Yeah. So it's just, there should have been more to this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it had real problems in terms of that. Real problems.
Yeah, and the worst part is I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Except for the fact that it wasn't complete.
Yeah.
It's that, like, for me, like, you give this movie another 15 minutes, I probably push it up, like, so I'm going to give it a 6. Because because I did enjoy it.
Right.
I did enjoy it, but that could have been maybe a 7 or maybe an 8 if they'd came up with, like, if this had been more fleshed. No, but look, what I'm saying is, if they had, say they hadn't repeated and had come up with really interesting ones, like, I really enjoyed this concept. I really enjoyed the way it was shot, despite the budget.
Yeah.
The budget was not a problem. For me, the budget actually fed into how that kind of, like, her doing the YouTube, and it's just her and her simp pal, and I never use that word, but my god, it was unreal. Like, and it's just so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, if this movie had 15 more minutes where they just fleshed a little bit more out, this could have been a movie I would heartily recommend.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. It's just a 6 because of what I got out of it.
Yeah. If I said your words, I would have given it a 5 on that basis, but I'm going to give it a 4. Now, the reason I'm going to give it a 4 is
That's
because I would not recommend it because it's really wearing its low budget on its sleeve, unfortunately, and I'm not going to drag on it. It's just what it is. But then the creativity problems, I think it's knocked down to a 4.
That's fair.
But like I say, like you said, sorry, yeah, it could have gone higher if they'd fleshed out some of that stuff. If they had a wee bit more money or time to play with, which is really unfair, but it is what it is. So I gave it a 4.
Yeah, you can't. You have to judge a movie based on what it is, not on what it could have been.
Yeah, I know. It's. I do find it sometimes hard though, because Frightfest used to get the directors, and the next film where I'm going to mention the director being there, and you can tell they're passionate. They've worked. Like, everyone in this has worked. They've tried to make something. It's not fucking paid off. It is difficult because I can put a face to all these people, and because I've seen them in real life, it is harder to be like shitting on their efforts. And the guy was talking about how hard it is to make films, how hard it is to get funding. They've got trouble for their next fucking projects and everything. And I'm like, dude, how
hard it is to get indie horror movies.
It's like, what a shithead. But it is what it is.
It is what it is. It is. It's like, I don't mean it bad. Neither of us have made a movie. No. Like, I respect anyone that can get a movie into any of these festivals, 100%. But I have to take the movies based on what they are.
Yeah, of course.
I don't
begrudge paying my money and seeing all these films, and I hope they all get a little slice of the pie, and I won't like them all, and that's fine. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, even the movies, apart from literally 2 movies from Fight Fest, the 2 that we know, that like I am happy to see every movie even if I hate it.
Yeah,
because that's the experience.
Yeah.
That's the experience of going to a film festival. But I'm not going to give a movie a higher grade just
Yeah,
because I
I know.
sympathise with the director or the writer or whatever. And it is, I don't like, again, much like Parvalos, like, I don't know, directed by Irel Anthony Hales, I don't know how many features he's made. I don't know how many movies he's
Oh
made.
yeah, this film. Yes.
See
yes,
if this is a movie that, like, he made first or second, and this gets him more budget, and people can see the promise out of it. Great. See if this is his 8th movie. Come on, like, better.
I think he's. Listen, I think he's a jobbing director. I assume it's his first. It's like his job, his profession is to make these. I respect the hustle. Must be a fucking hard life doing it. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
absolutely.
I'm sure he's a lovely man.
I don't care if he's a lovely man or not. So yeah, that was our first day, with Magpie, Parvalos, and Advent. Then we braved our walk home.
Yeah, no.
And then the second day, we had 6 movies this day, starting at 11 o'clock, 11:10, with the UK premiere of The Bitter Taste, directed by Guido Tilke. So it's a German production, but in English.
Yeah.
5 ways to die, 1 way to survive. After being captured by an undead countess and her cursed followers, Marcia, a retired pentathlete, must rely on her outdated and rusty athletic abilities to endure a terrifying hunt for human prey. Reluctantly, she teams up with a strange yet charming fisherman and an irritable cop in a suspicious alliance to increase her chances of survival against all the odds. Crossover horror arrives with a bang in an action-adventure mystery thriller with outrageous shocks when you least expect them. And the best OTT score by Clement Damaro, heard in ages.
What the fuck? The score was shit.
Yeah, the score was shit.
What the fuck are they talking about? It was just like butt rock. What the fuck is he? Anyway.
To be fair, going back to the Glasgow Fright Fest from this year, we did have that moment where there were about 7 people for one movie, and the last person was the composer, who spent a lot, like, he's talked about the same length as all the other people combined about how passionate he was about this, about composing, and how he just absolutely, like, adores it, and each movie's unique, and how he put this into this movie. And then the movie started, and it was the most generic butt rock I have ever heard in my life.
YouTube free music library.
Oh my god. So, The Bitter Taste.
I'll say before it starts. Do you remember before it started? The poster was on the screen, and it's a fencer with a skull, and the tagline 5 ways to die, and then it's The Bitter Taste, and the S in taste was a 5, and then it says eat your opponent. And I turned to you and I went, this is fucking concerning.
Yeah. And I went, that was my reaction. Yes, it is.
So carry on, please.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say about this movie.
It opens with an ambitious scene, right? And at first, I think we talked after it, we both kind of had the thing of, so there's a monster, there's special effects all over the place, and we were like,
yes,
the effects were not great, but they were not letting it stop. They were giving it some, right? They were just going for it. And there are films that do that, even though their effects are ropey, they get away with it because they're like, well, fuck it, we'll just show the monster in sunlight and everyone will get over it, and then we'll just do, we'll do it. We'll do the film that we want to do, right? We're not gonna. But yeah, so I was like, right, I like it. This could be a thing. They could be going for something. So okay, it's cheap again, which I think after Advent I was like, oh Christ, like cheap to cheap isn't great. But
it's weird, this one though, because like you go from Advent, which was cheap and 2 locations bar maybe a couple scenes.
Yeah.
This one has
That's a good point.
So many locations.
That's a good point.
Like there's literally like 3 times where the location's reused. It's mental.
Yeah.
That's what they must have used their budget on.
Is the steam train real? I assume the steam train's real.
Which it has to be.
It looked pretty real.
It looks pretty real.
Initially,
People get on and off of it.
But yeah, it showed a lot, and I was like, they must have had access to the steam train then somehow. But
it was crazy.
Listen, right, this film's got real fucking issues, and it's worse than Advent in terms of its issues. Advent had issues.
No.
This film has conceptual, deep, major problems.
So, very quickly going back to what you said about the start of the movie, where this was a case where I wasn't going to let the start, when I first saw that scene, I was not going to let the budget affect this, because I was like, okay, right, the monster doesn't look great.
Yeah.
But this looks interesting. This looks, okay, I can see where they're going. Like, it reminds me of the Deep Dark, which you haven't seen, again, mentioned in Glasgow Fright Fest from this year. The monster in that is low budget. It is so low budget. Like, when you first see it, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But they use it so well.
Right.
That is not the case in this.
Right. Yeah, it is.
Like this movie, we laughed through a lot of it.
Yeah, we did.
Like, you and I kept looking at each other in giggles.
Yeah.
Because
story and the story and dialogue is pretty dire, right?
Yep. And not only is the story and dialogue pretty dire, but the character motivations, the character decisions make no sense.
A lot of bizarre choices, yeah.
There is one specific twist that makes absolutely zero sense.
Yeah.
And it's like I was left kind of baffled by this movie. Like, I just didn't know what it wanted.
I'll describe a specific scene that's early
not too
going,
spoilery.
and it was the first time I was really like, oh shit, which is the woman is being chased. The main character is being chased by this entity, and she dives into a lake, and the entity follows her in the lake, and then she manages to catch up to the fisherman, as referenced, in this little boat. He grabs her in, and then, like, they're tangled, they're doing this and that, they're not sure if they're getting away, then they get away, and she says nothing to him. She doesn't talk about what's just happened. They don't have any kind of conversation at that point, and then they just part ways without ever having resolved anything that just happened. The fact that something was chasing her, he saved her, etc., etc. Now, obviously, he takes a bigger role in the film. That's the first time I was like, what fucking world are we living in when that all happened in front of someone and you're like, did you fucking see that? What the fuck? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. Just nothing. There's no human element to this whatsoever.
Yeah.
It felt like a Uwe Boll film.
No fewer than 3 times does the main character go to leave the town. And then doesn't. For one reason or another. Does
she stop? She doesn't get on the train twice?
She's getting driven out by the cop.
Yeah.
Stops, gets with the fisherman and goes back.
Yes, that's right.
Then twice. Once she gets on the train, then decides against it and gets off the train. Then another time she goes to get on the train, gets distracted and doesn't realise that the train is left and chases it down the track.
That was definitely one of the laughs. That was good.
It's
hard to...
It's a mess.
We could rewatch this, right, and we could take proper notes as it, and we could probably discuss it for an hour, all its problems and its plot holes. It has a lot. I don't want to do that though, because at the end of the day, we're kind of not talking about films that are worth talking about. But it did pass Kermode's laugh test 100%.
Oh God, aye.
And it was awkward because, like the last one, the director was there. His wife's the star. He said it took him 6 years to make, and I was like, fuck. Hell, it just didn't feel like that. It just didn't feel like a product of, I don't know, a product of
it didn't
passion?
feel like a passion product. It did not feel like a passion product. This did not seem like the dream that someone had been trying to put together.
No, it felt like it feels like the films that Uwe Boll made, like Alone in the Dark, and he made them for tax reasons. It feels exactly like that. It's not. It doesn't feel real. Anyway, 3 out of 10. It's not a 2 out of 10 because it's funny. It gets a 3.
Yeah, I think I'm on the exact same boat as you. This is a movie that if you have a couple of drinks with your pals, you will have a great time with it.
Yeah, I genuinely think I think it's enough that it is a so bad it's good watch.
And that's unfortunate to say for a film festival that it is so bad it's good, but my God, it is. Yeah. We have watched bad movies at Fright Fest. The thing is, it's as always, I will say, like these festivals are curated by a team of 4, I believe, and the whole thing is, same with every movie, it's personal opinion. People are going to get different things out of different movies. This one was not the worst movie I've ever seen, but my God, I was laughing the whole way through because of how bad it was.
I will say, I will put this out there. There's not a lot to actually dissect or digest in this. Even films I've seen in Fright Fest, which I hated because they were a grind, hated with a burning passion of 100 suns, I could see that some person would be like, I like the art. I heard someone say that after we watched The Cloud So High. I heard someone say that was a great film, and I was like, what the fuck? But also I was like, okay, I can see it. I don't think...
100%. Like, I can see...
There's no fucking person in the world that's going to look at this and be like, this is great. I just refuse to believe it.
It's pulp.
I like pulp. Fuck you. This isn't pulp, this is shit. Don't fucking compare this to The Phantom starring Billy Zane. That's a masterpiece of pulp. This is shit.
True.
Also, it's quite funny because I was talking...
Schlock? Would that be a better word?
No, it's crap. I was talking about the pentathlon in work like 2 weeks before we went and saw this. I was like, that's funny, because like the whole pentathlon, it's interesting, like, because he was like, what the fuck, why is there all these events? And I was like, oh, I actually know this. I Wikipedia it once. It's like, it's the skills that a soldier would need at the time that they came out with pentathlon. Isn't that really weird? So there's shooting and stuff, but they've got to shoot with like a laser gun because they can't shoot bullets these days and shit like that. So I thought it was fucking hilarious as a concept. Terrible also in terms of horror, but hilarious that a pentathlete is the ultimate source of power that this witch would need to.
It just keeps every word you're saying just keeps reminding me of a different bad part of this movie. They have a map of the town that they use that. It's not a map. It is
but they use it like it's a map.
They literally use it like a map.
Like it is literally hallway, and they're like, "Are we going left or right? Let's look at the map." And the map is just like 5 names of towns in a pentagram.
It's like the whole town, and it's just the major locations
with nothing in between them.
No, and then the town in the middle.
So
it's
they wrote the scene as if it was a real map, got the prop, which was not a real map, and thought, well, we're just gonna go for it.
And this is not like an exaggeration. It is literally, if you're in a tourist town and you go and look at a map of nearby locations, it's not going to tell you the roads. It's not going to tell you. It's just going to say, you're here. See from over here on this side of the island. That's where this thing is.
I'd say it's even less detailed, but it's still
exactly. Yeah, that is literally the map she takes. She smashes it out of a fucking pane of glass, and display, it is that type of map.
It's like the ones with the little drawings on it of like a Highland cow and a little bonnet.
Like if I was to draw a map to Lewis and drew a little Highland cow and like said, it's on the island up here.
No roads or nothing. It's very funny.
It's nonsense.
Also, the ending doesn't actually make sense and does not tie up the film. And we can't say why, but it's not really an ending.
It just doesn't make sense.
A lot of it doesn't make sense. But I think that's why it's so bad. It's good.
Yeah.
But still 3 out of 10.
It's so bad we had a fun time with it.
Yeah, it's actually one of the easier times I've had. Like some of them would be quite sloggy, but I think they're good. But this
you and I were genuinely shocked because the 2 people we were with came out and were like, "Oh, it was such a slog." Like they came out of it like it was the hardest experience they had ever gone through, and we were like, "Are you joking?"
Yeah, that's why
we had a great time because it was so terrible.
That's why I don't want to say categorically definitely see it. It's so bad it's good, but I think it could pass that. Yes.
Oh yeah, as I said, if you're having a bad movie night, this is one of the movies you can put on your list.
Oh no, it's too bad, turn off. Anyway, that's enough about this waste of time piece of shit film, which really wasn't good.
By the way, also it was 125 minutes.
It was
it's one of
so
the
long.
it might be the longest movie we had.
I'm so glad that we found it funny because
Yeah.
you could
Because
tell
if we'd found it the same way that they had found it, we would have been miserable.
I might have said to you, how the fuck is this going to be over 2 hours long?
I know,
It's fucking
I know.
shit. It doesn't make sense. Why would you make it over 2 hours long? It doesn't make sense anyway. Make it 77 minutes.
Yeah. See, honestly, see if you'd swapped the runtimes of this and Advent, would have been way happier.
Okay, okay.
Right.
Anyway.
Movie 2 of day 2.
Oh, we need to get quicker. We're an hour in, for fuck's sake.
That's how these always go. 145. UK premiere of Alien Country, directed by Boston McConaughey. That's the most American name I've ever heard.
That's
and
real
Rennie
name.
Graham's.
Boston McConaughey.
The UK premiere. Welcome to Alien Country. Out here, everybody has a story about extraterrestrials. Maybe their brother or cousin had a close encounter
Can
and
I
were
stop
abducted
you?
and probed.
I hate how this is written. Carry on.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons I read these out.
Yeah. This is really turning me off, this film, though. Carry on.
Maybe their brother or cousin had a close encounter and were abducted and probed in a spaceship. Maybe they saw a UFO in the night sky. Now, 2 people in particular are about to reveal the absolute truth and their unbelievable saga. Reeling from the news of an unexpected pregnancy, Jimmy, a wild and reckless demolition derby mechanic, and Everly, unknowingly, she doesn't get a description, she's just the pregnant one. The pregnant woman. And Everly unknowingly release an alien invasion in their small town and learn to work together in order to save each other, their town, and evidently their entire galaxy. That is a terrible description of what this movie
I'll
is.
just say the whole film. Is that not just everything that happens?
Oh, yes, but also very badly explained.
Yeah, so it's got a problem, which I'll get onto. The fucking film is the same problem, funnily enough. What I'll say, let's start. It's really nice to look at, and
It's really nice to look at.
it looks, especially, it's enhanced by the fact that we'd seen Advent, then the Bitter Taste. It looks like a studio release. It doesn't really look like an independent film. And in Q&A, they got asked, "This film looks really fucking good. How did you don't have it? We know you don't have a big budget." And they mentioned that they filmed in COVID and they got access to equipment like way above what their means would be because it was cheap. No one was using it, and it shows. It looks nice, and the special effects are also good. Like,
like
it's
genuinely,
not just the lenses. It looks nice.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like vibrant colors, like especially contrasted with the desert setting of it. Really, really nice looking movie.
Yeah.
Really nice looking movie.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is I really enjoyed the performance of the main actor, Casey Clyde.
Of course you fucking did. You love that kind of character. You're all over that. The smart aleck guy who's a bit... It's Kevin Smith's characters, all, it's all that fucking stuff. You love that shit. It's Chuck, that TV show. It's all that shit.
Oh, fucking hell.
You do love all that
Zachary
shit.
Levi. Yeah, no, he's a likable goof. He's a lovable goof.
Yeah.
He is that archetype. But he also plays it very well.
Yeah.
Like you can see that in so many like that archetype in so many different TVs and movies and books. He does a really good job of bringing that out.
I thought they were all right. Yeah.
From the Q&A, it's because that's what he's like. He's that guy.
He actually was funnier in the Q&A, to be fair. I thought he was...
Yeah, I genuinely thought that as well,
Yeah.
and you'll get onto that in a bit.
Yeah. I was highly distracted by the sheriff that looks exactly like Will Ferrell. He does. He does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
And you thought people looked like people, and you were like, have I seen this person?
Yeah,
in other
I am
things? Blah, blah, blah.
like genuinely. There's the sheriff of the town is a South Asian guy who I am so sure, and I could not find any evidence of this, that he has been in another movie that we've seen possibly at Frightfest that he played the exact same character, and his character basically went through the exact same arc. It was like
It's just
no
playing
evidence of
on
it.
your
It's just
deja vu.
it was horrible. It was horrible feeling in the back of my mind. No, I had fun with this movie. It's a sci-fi comedy action.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this movie.
I'd say it was competent. The story was competent, and the performances were okay, all right for the most part, and it looked really nice. And there's one massive problem. There's one glaring. What was the genre of this film?
It was sci-fi action comedy.
Great. And you know what I'm going to say, because
I know what you're going to say.
Everyone felt it. You could feel it in the theater. You could feel it, the absence of it. The absence of what?
Go on.
No, you tell me. I
don't want to get it wrong. You're the one on the tirade, so let's go. I'm just enjoying this.
I'm asserting that you will get this right. There was an absence of something. What was it?
Laughter.
There was no fucking laughter, right? The laughs are not here. We laughed more at the bitter taste by a wide fucking margin, and we weren't the only ones, right? This does not pass the laughs test, and unfortunately it tries to, so it's difficult, right? You could tell it's doing a thing. There's quips and stuff, right? There's little there's moments,
right? When we talk about the laugh test, we mean laughs. We mean actual, this made me laugh, not it made me go.
And I believe it's 6 times. The six laugh test. Made famous by Mark Kermode, amazing reviewer. And I think that's a great fucking barometer for a film.
It will come up later.
This film did not pass the 6 laugh test. I mean,
it passed the 6 snort test.
Maybe that's
what I mean.
I don't know if it passed that. Maybe
for me it probably did. Again, I got sucked into it, like I did, and that's again. So like I'm going to jump ahead. We can go back to it. Like I'd probably give this movie, for me, maybe a 7. Yeah. It is so like I enjoyed it, but it's just so run of the mill. It was a time killer for more than anything.
I will say they did try to give it some of that Utah flavor. They were like destruction derbies and shit. They were trying, right? They were trying to. A lot of films at Fright Fest this year felt like products of where they were made, except the bitter taste when everyone spoke English, even though it was Germany. That's another thing I don't like about it. Sorry. But
we don't need to go backwards.
But like, it felt like they were doing something. They were trying to do something, and the synopsis alluded to it as well. Like, this place is, this is the place. Blah blah blah. It's got no fucking laughs in it, Alistair. I'm very sorry to say that's a massive, massive problem.
Yeah,
it tries hard. They've, God willing, they try.
But also, you mentioned this after the movie. What else about it being made, set and made in Utah did you
This is definitely a Mormon movie. And when I say that, what I mean is a lot of I was like, right, they're all from Utah. I think some of them have mentioned Salt Lake City. I wonder if they're all Mormons, and this is like a connection between them. Yes, they all seem to be Mormons, and some of them are in like Mormon-related Christmas films and things like that. And I think it has impacted this film because this film is incredibly child-friendly, except one scene, which is bizarre. There are no swears, and it feels like the film where there would be swears, because these days when you get this kind of quippy thing, Deadpool.
Fucking Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example.
Yeah. Even they have a little bit of naughtiness, a little bit.
Yeah, but that's what I'm meaning.
They can't push the boat out, but they got a little bit of the old,
That's what I mean. Yeah, they'll say shit.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, so there is, I think you counted 1 swear word in this movie. The PG, I think it's the PG-13, because they'll always do it to American standards, and American standards are so weird. So basically everything wants to be PG-13 because anything above that means that your movie's not going to get distributed the same way.
Yeah.
And PG-13 allows more than 1 swear word.
It just felt very, very family friendly.
That's what I'm meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that the standards stopped them going further. It's a personal choice that stopped them going further.
Except for one strange moment where a character dies and they're covered in fucking blood. And I was like, that's so fucking weird and unnecessary in a film where we can kind of tell that you're keeping it on the nice side of all the language. But then again, that's America. They don't care about blood as much, is what it is.
We don't care about deplorable violence as long as no one says naughty words, as South Park the movie would say.
So it's just, yeah, and I think that's a real fucking issue because, personally for me, we will both talk about this later, I'm sure of it, even though we've not agreed to beforehand. It's too fucking toothless. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Frightfest movies should have a little bit of something. Do you know what I mean? Something. Like, it doesn't need to be horror. It can be, like, VFW wasn't a horror film, arguably. Yeah. It was more of like a gory siege thriller, I guess.
Yeah, it was like an 80s kind of, like, your Judge Dredd, your Demolition Man, like that feel to it.
Or I'm trying to think, even A Cloud So High had a weird descent into madness, and it's low budget, it's a bit fringe. It's supposed to be fringe films, right? This film isn't fucking fringe. This is so pasteurized, it's unbelievable. Yeah. It really is. So I gave it a 5. Maybe I should have given it a 4. The more I talk about it, actually, it's a 4. I'm going to rewrite this to a 4.
Funnily enough, the more I talk about it, the more it's a 6.
It's semi-skimmed. It's fucking...
Yeah, the more I talk about it, it's a 6. Because it doesn't. It's like, again, I enjoyed it, but will I remember it in a few years? No. It's so run-of-the-mill.
Oh, dear. And the Mormon thing was just a funny thing. I was like,
it's just weird. It's not, it's nothing to do, it's just a weird thing that pervades through the whole movie.
Yeah, I'm not even suggesting that it was their Mormonism that led them to make it that way. They could have just wanted to make it that way because they might get more money and more distribution, as you were saying. It's just, but the end product is just so...
sanitized.
Yeah, sanitized is a great way to put it. A great way to put it. What's next?
From this, we move on to... At 4:10, The Draft, directed by Yusron Fuadi. This is a Indonesian movie.
So,
UK premiere, Fight for Your Fate. 5 college students embark on a weekend trip to an isolated cabin. I haven't read this synopsis, by the way, and I can guess that it's probably going to spoil something we had no idea about going into this movie.
Don't do it then.
You sure? I'm just going to...
I actually was going to really not talk about that because I feel like it would really defeat it to know.
Oh my God. Amazingly, it doesn't.
Okay, carry on.
I'm so... Because, a couple of the ones even today we've talked about, like...
The last one basically said they save everyone through their power of love, so...
Yeah, So, Fight for Your Fate. 5 college students embark on a weekend trip to an isolated cabin. Upon their arrival, a mysterious older man gives them a cryptic warning about staying there, and later strange and weird events begin happening around them. Soon they learn they must survive a dizzying battle of wits and against an all-powerful dark force that is seemingly undefeated. Cabin in the Woods meets Scream with a dash of Kurt Vonnegut sci-fi and a fist-pumping Indonesian body count terror that delights in honouring horror cliches while subverting them totally in a gruesome gore fest.
Yeah, I think I did it well.
Yeah, the latter half of that I'm not as...
Yeah, it's, it's what it is.
Yeah. This movie was cool.
It was cool. So it's a low-budget, high-concept Indonesian horror comedy. It could be classed as a comedy. It had jokes in it.
But this is again when I'm talking about, like, I feel that the comedy worked well to offset the darker, weirder moments of it, rather than it being a comedy.
Yeah.
Like
I get it.
Yeah, I'd still because it's just it's a smart movie, very high concept. It's very smart. Does it do everything it sets out to? I'm not really sure, but my God, that ride. 84 minutes, by the way, so... Yeah, there was a lot. That's surprising brevity in this Frightfest this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like... I don't know if it did everything it was hoping to. I don't know if it really connected on all these punches, but my God, it's such a ride.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I agree. So it's low budget, and you can tell there's some very funny, like, blue green screen scenes, and you're like, that is sticking out like a sort of... It's like a Zoom call. It's quite funny. But they don't have a lot of money, but the concept is very out there, and they managed to demonstrate it in a lot of different ways, and we cannot say what the concept is because it really would take away from the film. But it's very, very Indonesian, Which is kind of what I was saying about the last film. It's like, it's very much, it's so much a product of Indonesian horror cinema that I can't comment on how effective it is because I am not
it is such an Indonesian horror movie that in the movie they talk about Indonesian horror movies.
Yeah, and particular cliches.
The specific things that go through. Like the same way we've talked about before with Japan and certain aspects that Japan has. Well, the way that Giallo has certain aspects that it's always going to have. This movie, purportedly from its own dialogue, is a very Indonesian horror movie. Yeah. Whether it is or isn't, we can't comment. What I can say is it is effective.
Yeah. I'd say
it is a very effective movie.
I draw comparisons with One Cut of the Dead, especially because not only is that a very meta film, it also lures you in a bit. So without spoiling anything, I was slightly concerned about the draft until a moment at a certain point where it flips on its head and it subverts what you've experienced. And I go, that's exactly what happened with One Cut of the Dead, which is, to all intents and purposes, a very mediocre film until it's an amazing film because of what it reveals to you. And this, I mean, not to the same extent, but this had that kind of feeling. I was like, oh, thank God, they're doing this. Is much more interesting than I might have thought it was. Yeah, without saying what it is.
No, you're 100% right. And One Cut of the Dead is a great example. Like, this is a movie that rewards you for sticking with it.
Yeah.
Really does, and
that's
that's
not
not
a
a
shame
knock
if someone
against
turned
it.
it off after 20 minutes, and I can see why they might. But you should stick with it.
But my God, it's just like genuinely, it's not that this movie is spectacularly made or like this is not going to win awards or be the next like Parasite or anything like that. Like, but it is such a smart, original movie.
Yeah, it feels like
going from Alien Country, where you're talking about this movie had no edge, no teeth, completely sanitized. Going into this movie, it's the complete opposite. This is a movie that if you like, this is a movie you have to go for. Yeah, and they went for.
I feel like
whether it pays off completely in the end, I'm not 100% sure.
Edges. Yeah, it's definitely got rough edges, and I agree with you.
But my God, you're looking at this movie going, right, I've not seen this before.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is the kind of film where you, in 10 years' time, will see a film that's getting a lot of praise, it's got a good budget, it's like a big smash, and then you'll be like, oh, what else has this guy made? Oh, this film called The Draft. It feels like that kind of movie where the filmmakers are maybe going to go on to better things, you know, but it's like a good touchstone, like, look at the promise they could have, you know, they've got ideas, let's reward them with some faith and some money.
Exactly. This is like, I've talked twice now about how well, maybe if this is their first or second, I don't care what number feature this is of his. This is the proper first one where I'm looking at like, I want to see what else this guy can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless, I don't care if he's made 20 movies before. I want to see what else this guy can do.
Yeah, exactly. So listen, you've talked a big game. I think your score is going to be higher than me. I gave it a very, very respectable 7. I thought it was good. What I will say is the slot it's in is odd. It should have been a midnight screening, but they pushed it back because the directors were supposed to fly over from Indonesia and then they couldn't, but they couldn't change the slot. That also sort of impacts the film at the end. I feel like they should have, if they had been the original, they would have. This feels like a grindhousey midnight movie kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I give it a 7. I thought it was very good. Does have rough edges, does have little bits and bobs, but very good overall.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I probably did enjoy it a bit more than you. I don't know if I'm willing to give it an 8 because it does have some bits that just, it doesn't quite tie together. It doesn't do this. Yeah. This bit doesn't quite work, but overall, like it's one of those like.
Be generous, you bastard.
Fuck it! It's an 8. Right, fine, there. It is. It's one of those ones where if I was giving it a 7, I'd say it's a high 7. It's one of those ones where I'm just like, because 7, especially in movies and other aspects, can be seen as a 5.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
get it. I will reiterate
But
that
that's-
a 6
but
for
I
me
will
is a
always-
pass, and a 7's
Yeah.
really good, and an 8's really up there, and a 9 is fucking pretty unbelievable. So
Yeah, and that's yeah, and 10 is the thing.
Yeah.
And it is that where I'm like, that's why I'm struggling to give it the 8, because it's such a solid 7. If I am taking the 1 to 10 as a whole, it is such a solid 7. Does it push into an 8? Not quite, because it does, like, as I said, there's just it's
got
not
challenges,
perfect.
yeah,
And
it's got
I know 8 doesn't mean perfect, but
Yeah.
it's got challenges. You know, it's got rough edges here and there. But my God, like, I cannot recommend this movie enough. Like, such a good watch.
sounds like an 8 then. So we should say it's also called Setan Alas. Setan Alas.
Yes. Which we are not 100% sure on this. Donald might be Googling it.
Nope.
It is an exclamation. Yeah, it looked like you were. It is an Indonesian exclamation
Yeah, they
that is
literally
said
say it.
a few times throughout the movie. And it seems to be like a kind of, oh my God, or a like,
Yeah.
fucking
And
hell.
it might play
like,
into what the film's about. We don't
totally.
know.
We don't know. Because it is not translated. It doesn't seem
Might
to
be
be
a
a thing
pun
that
or
is.
something. We've got no fucking idea.
So yeah, it's called The Draft in English, but what was it? Salam
Setan
Atas?
Setan Alas. I think that's what it is on
Setan
IMDb right
Alas.
now. So I really don't know what its wider distribution is going to be known as. So I thought I should really throw that in there.
No, that's good. That's good.
What
to
have we
know.
got next?
What we got next? Well, we have 620. Where are we on? 2 movies left?
3, including this one.
3, including this one. Yep. Our next movie, 6:20 p.m., was the UK premiere of Time Travel is Dangerous, directed by Chris Redding. The Time Machine goes Time Bandits with a dash of the Antiques Roadshow in the meta-universe comedy fantasy of the year. Best friends Ruth and Megan run the vintage bric-a-brac shop Cha 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 in Muswell Hill. Stumbling across a time machine, they embark on trips to the past to stock their emporium with quirky artifacts with no idea of the irreparable damage they're causing to the fabric of the universe. After one excursion too many, an interdimensional fissure appears, and Ruth must free Megan from the unreason, a monstrous netherworld where convoluted gaming is played for all eternity.
That
Really
is
didn't
like
need that.
90% of this film, by the way.
Really didn't need that last sentence. Yeah, they could have just. Yeah, that's too much.
This
Doesn't.
Yeah. This is so British.
Oh my God, this is like the most British comedy I've seen in a long
The most
time.
British sci-fi caper comedy. Sci-fi caper comedy.
This movie's wild.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's got that kind of energy of like a Mighty Boosh or something. It's like I don't know. Actually, I should have considered my comparison.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of more sci-fi though. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Like the Mighty Boosh, I'm talking about like the creativity, visual creativity to it. It really
Yeah.
does a lot of that.
Yeah, that is very true. There's a lot of purposefully low budget
Yeah.
aspects to it, but are A, so British, and B, work 100%.
Yeah. It really works.
I adore this movie.
It's very, very good, I'd say. It's a mockumentary, but loose.
It's a loose
Say
mockumentary.
loose. It's not like this makes 100% sense. It's more than just the style.
It's kind
of
of in the style of mockumentary. It's more like a Modern Family, if you know what I mean. Where there is no like The Office has a documentary crew.
Yeah.
This doesn't.
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of mockumentary.
Yes.
And it's so right. First of all, it passed the 6 laugh test.
Yeah.
With ease.
Yeah, it's got a lot of charm. It's got a lot of funnies. Yeah, it was easy.
Yeah. And, like an incredible cast.
So let's get on to that because I wish we.
That's what I was going to. No, I am so glad I didn't know before.
I guess, but I feel like I would have been even more impressed in another.
Oh
way.
yeah, totally. But like, and I like the reason I'm glad I didn't know before, but it changes nothing about the movie. So going into what we're about to say, so this movie has Johnny Vegas, Sophie Thompson, Jane Horrocks, narrated by Stephen Fry, has the voice of Brian Blessed, Mark Heap, Alex Horn in the horn section band. appears in it. This movie has so many British names, it's hard to count.
Yeah.
The two leads in this movie, which we did not know going into this, actually run a bric-a-brac shop called Cha 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 in Muswell Hill. They are not actresses. Yes. They are playing them. They're playing fictionalized versions of themselves and are not actresses. They put in two of the best performances of this entire festival.
I don't understand. I'm still skeptical just because their comedic timing's very good. Honestly, it's hard to believe, but I'll believe it.
It really is. No, I'll believe it because they drew parallels that one of the things in the movie is that their shop is getting shut down, and tragically, so they were there at the premiere, and we're saying, yeah, and our shop is in danger of being shut down. Like, it's mental.
But it wasn't when they made it.
But it wasn't when they made it, and it's crazy. Like, to get two non-actors to put this performance is insane.
Yeah.
Not since something like This Is England with Thomas Turgus have I seen such a good performance from a non-actor.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has gone on to do other things, but at that point, he was a child actor who did nothing before that.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane to get this kind of performance out of someone like that.
Yeah.
My God.
Plus, it's funny.
Plus, it is so funny. It is so funny.
And it's
so charming as well.
It has got a lot of charm. It kind of reminds me of... It's the kind of British humour that kind of became Kiwi humour as well. It reminded me of the kind of like the There Will Be Blood style of humour. And There Will Be Blood is also sort of a mockumentary that's not really a mockumentary. Do you know what I mean? But like
There Will Be Blood?
Sorry, not There Will Be Blood.
I was like the Paul Thomas Anderson
Not
movie.
There Will Be Blood. What We Do in the Shadows. Sorry. I don't know why.
Right, yes.
Thank you. That's not
you.
even a similar title. Anyway, What We Do in the Shadows with the fake mockumentary and the... It feels very much like that style of comedy, which really works for me, so that's good.
Yeah, it's the kind of British comedy where there aren't jokes. There aren't jokes.
Sorry? That doesn't sound good.
No. If you think about traditional comedies where it's like jokes landing, this is just like, there are just moments where like it's just the natural, what appears to be natural dialogue.
Yeah.
Just turns out to be so gut-bustingly funny. It's...
Will we take that as the extract, as the quote? There's no jokes. Put it on the poster. Print it.
There's no jokes.
Print it.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do know what you mean. Yes, I do know what you mean. Yes.
It is. It's a very impressive movie.
It's not trying too hard like another film we watched today, which was a sci-fi comedy.
But that's literally what I was talking about. It's like it does everything that Alien Country wanted to be. Obviously not in terms of plot, blah blah blah.
But it's still a sci-fi comedy.
No. But that's what I'm meaning. In terms of what Alien Country wanted to be, Time Travel is Dangerous does that on such a smaller scale and to such a much better result.
Yeah, much more successful. Yeah,
it's crazy. Like. This might be the movie that I recommend most out of the entire weekend.
Yeah.
This movie is great. This movie is somewhere between an 8 and a 9 for me. I don't know if I'm willing to give it a 9 because when you're watching 9 movies back to back, it's very easy to get caught up in...
When you watch a shit comedy and then you watch a good comedy.
Exactly. When you watch
you need to watch
these
this
movies,
again and make sure you're recommending people for
Exactly. No, but this is why I'll always just have to do it. Because this is both the good thing and the bad thing about us doing these podcasts. And it's... But I'm willing to give it that higher score. Yes, it might have been because I am watching it in a vacuum of these movies. Yeah. But my God, I had such a good time with this.
I really enjoyed it as
Such a good time with this.
I'm swathering between a 7 and an 8, but I'm still swathering between them. So, if we both landed on 8, that's pretty good. But it's definitely very successful, funny, charming. The non-actors are great. Everything you said. I was only 7 or 8 because I'm like, it's
literally the only disappointing thing about this movie is that Brian Blessed was scheduled to be there and he wasn't. And I can't hold that against the movie. So, yeah, it's an 8. I'm giving it an 8. I don't think it's quite a 9, but it is fucking excellent. Go watch this movie when it comes out.
I'm not saying it's a 7 or an 8, and I'm not going to.
That's fair. No, fucking commit. You've made me commit.
8 because of the two leads being non-actresses and they're very charming and the shop's real. And that was all just really nice to find out. It would have been a 7 if it was just they were actors I didn't know and they were just playing characters. Yeah, it definitely gets an extra point because it just feels so much more. I don't know. It's just it's weird and cool and interesting. So yeah, okay, 8. Yeah, fair.
Yeah. 100%. Watch this movie. I would genuinely, if it comes out in cinema, go see it.
Yeah.
That is, and we don't say that a lot.
But when it comes to streaming, hopefully they get a nice.
100%. No, that's what I'm
for
saying.
Back-end.
And also, let's be honest. If it goes to cinemas, watch it. It will only apply to British people.
Yes,
because it is not going to get an international cinema release. Obviously,
but the thing is, the New Zealand comedies are fucking consumed worldwide, and this is the same ilk in terms of tone, and people would enjoy it. This
movie. If this movie catches on, this could actually go places because this could become a cult classic. It's great. It is great.
I'll also say, don't let the presence of Johnny Vegas, a actor who is a bit Marmite to people, put you off because he's very, very funny in this film.
I am I'm a fan of Johnny Vegas when I see him in things like panel shows and stuff like that. I've never been a big fan of him as an actor.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal in
this.
He's
very funny.
He's very funny. He nails the part. He has some of the.
I think we were probably both worried he was getting paid. He's like the big name. We worried he might be getting paid, turning up a bit, not really putting in a lot of effort, going. Do you know what I mean? He's he could be that person. They've got him for 2 days. He's in a room. That's it. But he is actually a nice. Initially, I thought that was what it was as well.
Which it does look like that.
Exactly.
And it does. And it's, but then that gets expanded on.
He's willing. He puts an effort. He looks like a twat occasionally. It was very good.
Yeah, it subverts your expectations in so many ways.
Yes.
From casting to actual plot.
Yes.
So yeah, loved it. Genuinely loved it.
Didn't give it a 9. Did you give it a 9? I've forgotten now.
No, I gave it an 8.
10.
10. It's this movie and The Thing. That's it. And this brings us on to
Let's have a hard tonal shift now in terms of entertainment.
This brings us on to our penultimate movie, 8:45. Catch a Killer. Not To Catch a Killer.
It is impossible right now to Google this film. I typed in Catch a Killer in quotation marks. It still comes up with To Catch a Killer. I mean, I know it's a new film and it's low budget, but I'm like, Google, come on, please. I don't know the year. I can't remember. I'm just trying to find out who this actor is.
2024, thankfully.
Yeah.
So US movie. Directed by Teddy Grennan, a neo-noir thriller featuring Otto and Lex. Breakout performances from Sam Brooks and Tomorrow. That is her actual name.
That's her name.
A pair of star-crossed lovers who do the right thing but make the wrong decision, and it costs them everything. When Otto is derailed on his way to becoming the city's youngest detective, he stays in the police business as a bioremediation specialist. I had to read that word
Crime
first.
scene cleaner.
Yeah, he's a crime scene cleaner, cleaning up after a serial killer. With an uncanny knowledge of horror films and his natural instincts, Otto and Lex crack the code to where the killer is going to strike next. Now they just have to catch him.
So this was...
This is our shortest movie at 74 minutes.
Which, it's my rule. It's under 80. I was concerned. We'll get on to that later. It was definitely built up slightly as the main event. I mean, it's in that Saturday slot where lots of big films have traditionally been placed, and also the organizers were talking about it, like not just before the movie they did that, but they'd mentioned it like the day before and stuff. I'm sure of it. They were talking this up, right? So the main lead, I'm just going to talk about some shit, right? The main lead, Sam Brooks, very good in it. He is to Jeremy Allen White what Logan Marshall Green is to Tom Hardy, right? They're very similar.
So perfect.
They're very similar.
Yeah, we all came out of the... Oh, no, right. we are obviously having a laugh, like, because we all came out of this movie being like, he was Jeremy Allen White, but not.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, it's,
I'd
but
argue
my
more
God.
handsome, but a lot of women like the flawed
Yeah.
looks of Jeremy Allen
No.
White.
I'm also on that side. Sam Brooks gives and such an impressive
And
performance in this.
tomorrow's
No,
really good
I
as
know.
well.
Like, but
Oh yeah, to be
he
fair,
he
Sam
carries
Brooks is on
this
the
movie.
screen basically the whole time, and he does.
Yeah, he is the main character. He is the driving force of this movie, and he does such amazing range.
Yeah, I think in terms of like a showcase for him, this movie is very successful, and I hope it leads to other things. Because
yes,
he's not been in a lot of films or anything. I don't.
Yeah,
think.
he was in
really,
the second Fear Street movie.
Yeah, bits
and a couple of.
bits and
What I'm
bobs.
saying is that's arguably his highest profile movie. He is phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah.
He does as well in this movie as I feel Daisy Ridley did in Magpie.
Yeah.
Because without those performances, those movies don't work.
Yeah.
And he is insanely good in this.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It is a very neo-noir thriller movie.
It's a bit like Seven.
It's a police procedural, basically.
It's a police procedural, yes. Initially, it's him being a crime scene cleaner, piecing together serial killer's parents. And if you're paying attention, which you weren't, and I
wasn't.
Smoking my little pipe of rightness.
Yeah.
You can see it's not really a spoiler. I mean, it does say in the synopsis, but like the opening shot has like a montage like Seven of a map, and it's got like little flashes of street names and characters. And when I realized that Elm Street, I was like, how many Elm Streets are there? But there was something about Christine on King Street, and I was like, right, I see what they're doing, right? That could be good. I've not actually heard of this before. There's films about copycat killers, but not in terms of like the meta where they're reacting to movies. So I was like, okay, right, that's a good starting point, right? What I will say it doesn't work for me so much is from that initial point, he's a crime scene cleaner. He's maybe noticing patterns that people don't see. I really like that as an idea. I wish he was still a crime scene cleaner, but he's actually a former detective who lied about his age to join the detective agency, and he was brilliant. And then he has a sperm.
There's a few weird murky aspects around his age, his girlfriend's age.
Yeah, so
the statute.
Yeah, his
it's and him joining, like there's weird stuff going on around that.
Yeah, he was kicked off the force after an altercation with his detective girlfriend, who must be a statutory rapist because she's in her mid-20s and he was 17 when he joined, and they say he's 17 when he joined. Right, whatever. It's weird. I don't know why they did it. But
I don't know why they went down that route, but
as the film goes on, he kind of becomes more drawn more personally to the crimes. I just don't think that was a good way for the story to go. It muddied it for me in ways that I did not really like. I would really rather it was just a good taught. I guess more of I guess police procedural. I was disappointed that all this backstory got thrown up, and I was like, this doesn't fucking do anything for me but badness.
You would have actually preferred it to be a bit more straightforward.
I would rather he was someone who had aspirations to be a detective, but he couldn't. For whatever reason, he smokes weed all the time. Maybe he was like, fuck, I failed the drug test. I'm not going to do that. I'm just obsessed with horror movies. I'm in this. Oh, I've seen a pattern. He discovered something about himself. But it really rubbed me up the wrong way that he was a brilliant but misunderstood detective. Like he's Doogie Howser detective. Like
one of the things that genuinely annoyed me about it, and could be a multitude of reasons for this, there appears to be only one police officer in one police precinct that he is willing to tell this to.
I think that's a product of the budget.
I think it's also a product of the budget, but it is also quite a large plot hole.
I think it's I did have that as well,
and it's also sorry, I don't know. I know it's a product of the budget, but it's also kind of a product of convenience for the story. Like, and I get that, but it's so glaring at times.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Because it's no one will listen to me. It's this one guy I tried to tell won't listen to me.
Yeah, surely there's other avenues you can go down with this. What I will say is, Sam Brooks is really, really good, as we said. Tomorrow is
Brilliant.
really, really good as well. They have good
Brilliant.
chemistry, I thought. I thought they were a very
Brilliant,
believable
yeah.
couple, and that's a very hard thing to get right, especially when you're playing around with a lower budget film. You don't have the resources to be able to maybe... All that shit. Grace Chung's okay.
She's fine.
The other actors are shit. I'm just going to say they're shit, right? And it really took me out of it because when he's having those interactions with the detective, when he's having those interactions with his ex-girlfriend, it really betrayed to me how little money they had, right? It felt instantly more like a bitter taste kind of film because they're not good actors. And when they're on screen, I just see the art draining away or something right in front
You
of
start
my
to see
eyes.
the seams start coming apart a wee
It
bit.
all
Yeah.
kind of comes unglued a bit, and I'm like, oh, get this person off. And I know it's disrespectful to say their shit, right? But the performances just were not there in this film, and it really hurt it for me.
That's
Really
fair.
did.
No, I can see that, and I'll agree. Like the two main performances, thankfully, they are the focal point.
Yeah.
They are 80% of what you see on screen. Grace Chung, I think, is actually it is a good performance, and it works. And it works because it gives the movie a bit of a heart. She is the kind of levity that
I will say it does feel a bit kind of plot contrivance as well, a little bit. Also, I don't know.
A lot of this movie is plot contrivance, though. Like it is. Like without getting too much into spoilers, street names and constellations.
Yeah.
Don't matter. Like, so if you're going, like, if you pick the movie apart, it's going to fall apart.
Logic,
And I'm not saying.
I think we should talk
Yeah,
about
the logic.
that. I don't care about that as a spoiler. Like the
Okay.
logic falls apart a lot, right? So they realize his girlfriend, Tomorrow's character, she has a lecture about Orion, and then for some fucking reason, the killer is using Orion as a pattern with which to choose their victims. I can't remember if it's particularly.
I think it does get
but
explained, but
it
the
just
problem is
feels-
it comes in, but it also comes in conflict with the other aspect of how he's picking his murders.
Yeah.
That's the problem with it. One or the other, fine, but
It's very
The-
ridiculously lucky to have.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying constellation and street names. That's convenient.
Right, I need to do the third bit of his belt, but all these street names are. Oh wait, no, this is Jason Voorhees Street. Right, okay, good, I'm saved.
Convenient, yeah. Like that is the bit that's a wee bit. But for me, it's a good, like, again, 74 minutes.
Yeah.
You would call it barely a movie.
Yeah,
And that's not an unfair thing to say. There are episodes of Game of Thrones that are longer than that. So yeah, but it is really elevated by two stellar performances by the mains. Like, honestly, I want to see Sam Brooks have a long, illustrious career. The amount of range I felt he put into this, the amount of passion, is just phenomenal. He makes that movie work. Without him, that movie,
Don't try.
all those things, without him in that movie, all those things you said are glaringly obvious and are bringing the movie right down. But because you are invested in these two, it works. And that's, like, for me, I came out positive. It's got its issues. I am somewhere between a 6 and a 7. It's probably more of a 7, and it's 100% because of Sam Brooks.
I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a very soft spot for Seven-like movies. This film has an overt Seven reference in it as well. I won't spoil what it is, but it really does. And the filmmakers reference Seven in their Q&A after. And it feels like that kind of film. But the story, I can't get over the story plot points that I did not find compelling, because that's something that you really want to be nailed tight in this type of film if it's going down that route. Funnily enough, we're going to cover a film in our next episode which starts off in that route and then divulges very successfully in a different route, which is also fine. This one didn't do that. You could treat this like Seven. It should have a good, smart plot, and it didn't. So I will say 5 or 6, depending on the day and how generous I feel.
Yeah.
Today I'm probably going to say 5. Sorry, but I saw that film we're going to watch next episode, and it was But I totally agree. Sam Brooks and Tomorrow, really, really good. Really, really good performances. It's not enough for me to elevate it into a passing grade, I don't think.
Yep.
But I really hope they do other stuff in the horror sphere. If this is in the horror sphere, which it's not. Carry on.
Which we'll talk about at the end of this. But first, we go on to our last movie.
Our last movie in the dreaded slot. What was it? 11:30 or something?
10:40.
Oh, was it? I thought it was later than
Yeah,
that.
because I remember everyone else being like, "Oh, thank God, it's not going to end that late."
Oh yeah, okay.
So 10:40, last movie of the weekend. French production, 95 minutes. Animale, directed by Emma Benistan. Nejma works at a farm where bulls are raised for sport. Against her mother's wishes, Nejma wants to become the first female bull runner, a dangerous ambition as many end up wounded or permanently disabled. After one bullfighting dare, she wakes up with a weirdly enhanced ability to know what the bulls feel. Shortly afterwards, a mysterious rogue bull appears at night to stalk and kill. All the farms unite for a bull hunt to save the tourist season and dispel any rumours. But as her powers of perception grow, Nejma fears there may be a more supernatural angle to what's been happening.
Was that it?
Yeah. Sorry, dot.
Oh, right. It's just because the other ones have been really like, so what she does is she does this and that.
Then she goes to that.
The
And
power
then,
of love. Yeah. She learns how to blah, blah, blah.
She learns the power of Jesus.
So as I said, this film was bumped to this end slot because of the draft. And it was initially introduced as a slow burn, which I was very concerned about because it was the last film, end of the day.
It's only 95 minutes.
Yeah, but it's the last film, end of the day.
No, but I'm saying those two, that being a slow burn and only being 95 minutes can be quite that can be a worrisome aspect.
I'm not saying it was a slow burn, but that's how it was sold.
Described to us, yeah.
Yeah, sold to us. And it was kind of like the air of, be patient with it, blah, blah, and I was like, oh, fuck, this could be bad. I was like, oh, this better not be a grind. Like, oh, God. It is...
it's a slow burn.
I wouldn't even say it's a slow burn as much as it takes its time a bit. It's not... I feel like if it hadn't been sold as a slow burn, I don't think I'd be really mentioning that much. It's a contained story. I didn't feel the length particularly bad. I mean, I know it's only 95 minutes, but what I mean is I wasn't bored or anything. I felt pretty captivated throughout. So I don't even think it's that slow. It just has moments where it's just showing you visual things, and it's fine. It's shot very well. So I thought it was interesting. I don't really know. It was kind of a trip, though, to be fair, because when I think back at it, I'm like, Jesus Christ, the story of this film could be the back of a postage stamp. But... But it didn't feel like that when I was watching it. But maybe tiredness also played a factor in that. I'm not sure. But so I wasn't listening to the synopsis. Does it mention the fact the thing? Right. Okay. Great. No. Well, this is going to be difficult then. So
it's going to be very difficult.
It's got well discussed themes. I feel there's a change in the film that I think done effectively. There's a central event that if you're paying attention, you can understand where it might be going, and that can feed into what you're being shown, I think, pretty effectively. It says things about, cattle's role in society, how that can apply to certain sections of people in society. They can be seen of as disposable or a lower class or something. It's also got very fucking scary moments of bullfighting. And when I say bullfighting, it's not swords, which is important to me because I really don't like bullfighting. It's disgusting.
Yeah. So it's that's the thing. It's not bullfighting.
It's bull. Chicken. It's
So basically, the idea is it's in. I don't know if that. I'm assuming it's a real thing, but what they do is they attach basically ribbons essentially to the horns of the bull, and the bull runners have to go out into the pen and grab the ribbons. And if they grab the ribbons, tons of ribbons, and you win money if you get a ribbon. And
they're not actually fighting the bull, which is not to say that the bull doesn't get hurt. And personally, I don't support that sort of thing, but it wasn't like really unpalatable.
Down with this sort of thing.
Yeah, it wasn't really unpalatable for me to watch, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Except for one scene, which is definitely taken from a YouTube video of a man getting gored by a bull.
Yeah, right near the bollocks.
That was weird. That was a weird moment.
Yeah, but I think that was effective because you really felt a lot of tension in the bullfighting scenes, which were shot very fucking well. And I hope all those bulls were treated well and they're fine, because it looked very visceral, very real. They didn't look like they were, as I say, I didn't feel uncomfortable about it, but it was scary. It was scary. So you got a lot of those moments. You've also got like tension between her. She wants to be a female bullfighter. There aren't any female bullfighters. She's trying to get respect to the men. She's trying to be one of the men. And obviously she comes to conflicts around her place with them and how they view her. This doesn't sound like horror. It does get horror-ish. I'll say it's definitely got sort of horror motifs, but it could be a fairy tale. Like, there's a lot of horror adjacent stuff that's sort of horror, but it's not scary or anything like that. Did you know what? Does that make sense? I'm trying to think of other films that are like that, like fairy tale films. What was that one we saw? And it was like a entity of the forest that would grant wishes and stuff. And it was very Pan's Labyrinthy. That was at Frightfest. Do you remember that one? Was it Filipino or...
yeah, something along those lines, which sounds horrible. But
that in the moment... I'm going to... Sorry. That in the moment felt very Pan's Labyrinthy. This isn't quite as...
Yeah, Pan's Labyrinth was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, this isn't quite... This is sort of like... It feels like a traditional folk tale. In a sense. And it's kind of that flavor of like folkish horror almost, if that makes sense. This will not make sense to anyone who hasn't seen the film, and I'm very sorry. I'm trying my best. The synopsis does not fucking give away a very central conceit of the film, and I can't do it. So there you go.
Yeah, which is 100% the right way to do it. It's a very emotional film. Again, sorry, lost words. The performance of the main character, played by Ulaya Amamra, she is excellent. Like, she is really, really good in this. And it is a very, very emotional film. It's like, I think they actually do like you said, they do a disservice by saying it's a slow burn, because that's not what it is. It's just a more tempered movie.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting, like the settings, the set pieces.
It's very weird
because we didn't. So it's this movie's set in France, and we didn't know. We knew it was French, but and this is obviously just ignorance on our part, but we did not know that there were areas of France that looked like that. It looks like North Africa.
Yeah, it does.
Genuinely looks like North Africa. I honestly thought this was going to be like Morocco or something along like a northern
French
African country.
Exactly.
But it wasn't. It's apparently on the south coast of France.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very deserty, but despite it being deserty, it's coastal. Because they look right onto the water a lot of the time.
It's just the heat, Alistair, the heat. But yeah, it's very unique setting that I've never seen before.
And it's such a genuinely interesting movie.
This felt like a bloody Frightfest film, I'll say that. Even though it's not like ghosties and ghoulies and that shit, right?
No,
it's not.
But this is definitely more in line.
But it's saying something pretty unique, I'd say. It's got a real, and there's a few films. This film this festival had a lot of films that, to be fair to them, felt like a product of where they were from. Especially this one, because it's so fucking weird. It does, like, wow.
Yeah, 100%. It's genuinely hard to talk about this movie without giving away too much about it. It's impressively made. Yeah. The performances, the shooting, like along like this. this doesn't look like a low budget movie at all.
No, it looks very accomplished, I'd say.
Full
yeah.
production.
There's no
like,
rough, edgy bits that we're giving a little bit of leeway or whatever. It feels like a real rock solid.
And yeah, 100% rock solid production, and it's arguably the most like heartfelt movie, and in a completely different way.
Yeah. It's not
like,
it's not going to pass the 6 laughs test.
It's not. No, not at all. There's barely any
There's
humor
like one
in this.
joke in the locker room.
It's like it's like what I said. It's those moments just to bring your brevity.
of course,
like
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's the only reason there's jokes in this. Or to give like these characters are chatting and blah blah. Like it's the movie with the most heart, along with time travel is Dangerous, but for completely different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that I enjoyed it as much as time travel is Dangerous, but as you said, it is much more a Frightfest movie, more than Time Travel is Dangerous is.
Yeah.
It is a movie that I came out of going like, that was interesting.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like similar to The Draft. Like this is a product not only of its of what where it was made, but it's got this kind of just pervasive feeling through it that draws you the whole way through. Whether by the end of it you're like I loved it or hated it, you're compelled to just keep going because you kind of just want to know what is happening. What are these people doing? What is going to happen to Nejma? So it is. It's. I don't know where I would have slotted this if it wasn't like in its original slot. Like you do like, is it's not like VFW was the last movie of one of the Fright Fests, the last movie overall, and I think that ended up being because much similar another movie got shifted, and I felt VFW was a great way to go out.
Yeah.
Like high octane, get people like you've just watched 10 movies. Here's something really like go. Like I'm wondering if this should have replaced the Bitter Taste.
Yeah.
Or would have been too slow to open the like some. It's, do you know what I mean? But it's just it is the movie that arguably is the one that I thought about most during and after because of just the emotion that it portrays.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. Yeah, it's definitely it's got more to chew on, I think. A lot of the other good ones were like well done tales, or The Draft is like all concept really. Yeah, more than anything else, kind of thing. But this has a lot of thematic elements to it.
Exactly, even the aspects of Advent that I liked. Yeah, like don't come close to this. I like the concept of Advent, and there were some cool aspects about it. Yeah. This is a movie that, like, from start to finish, like, if you told me this was a vision from someone, I would believe it.
Oh yeah.
Like the Bitter Taste being a vision. What are you talking about? Like this looks like someone wanted to go out and make that movie. Yeah. And whether you like it or not, that is the movie they wanted to make.
I will also say its setting is tied intrinsically into the tale in a way that they can say alien country is, but it's not really. No. It could be anywhere. There's just shots of the desert, although they want it to be, talking about. But this is very much... You're kind of learning about a place. You're learning about a way of life that's totally alien to us as well, which is a really good thing that we like about doing this sort of stuff. It's a good thing about foreign film. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You're talking a big game. I wonder where your score's going to come in.
But I don't know where my score's going to come in at the moment. Like I'm thinking, it's annoying because I'm thinking a 7. Like
You talked like it was higher.
I know I did, but that's the hard thing. That's one of the reasons that I don't like scores.
I know. The score thing is just arbitrary. No one should.
Yeah, exactly.
Having said that, I would like to give it a second watch. If I'm generous, I'll give it an 8 now. But really, I'd like to confirm it with a second watch because you can. I want to make sure that there's a bit to chew on after the initial watch. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So your answer's the same as mine, but filled with more bullshit.
Yeah. Because if a movie is full of big themes, right, you want to make sure you've not just gotten everything out of it straight away kind of thing. Because that's a bit disappointing. kind of thing. So maybe I'd want to give it a rewatch, but yeah, it was very good. It was definitely a standout movie, and it was much better than I expected it to be, given that they'd bumped it to a later slot and described it as slow. So
yeah, I think this will be one you rewatch with the wifey and give it a wee think.
I like to try and watch films where men are being good and nice, because otherwise it just reaffirms all her opinions about me.
If this movie affirms her opinion of you, I don't think we could do this podcast anymore.
Have you given
So
it
that's
a number?
us.
Have you given a number? You didn't give it a firm number. I said 8.
7.
7. Okay.
7.
You're a fucking bastard, man. Give it an
Yeah.
8.
No. Because you basically said no.
know,
You
I
said
know,
your answer was I might give this an 8 if I watch it again.
No, I'm giving it an 8, but with the caveat that if I watch it again and it's crap, I will release an addendum podcast that is 30 seconds long saying this should have been 7. Okay, goodbye.
Yeah,
Now,
I'll stick with my 7 and
Yeah, that's fine.
be
Now,
happy with that.
we wanted to talk about something else, and we didn't
Yes.
confirm. We've not talked about this before, but it's probably going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
So before we get on to that, I will say that Kim Newman was at Fright Fest, and I was very excited.
You were very
He was
excited to
like-
see Kim Newman.
So there was us, then our 2 friends, then 2 empty seats, then Kim Newman walked in. I was like, holy shit, it's Kim Newman. And everyone else went, who? And I know Kim Newman because I used to read Empire religiously back when magazines were a thing, print magazines, my God. And he had a section, Kim Newman's Video Dungeon, I believe it was called. This is years ago. I've not read Empire for a long time, obviously. And he would talk about like films like the films in Fright Fest. Weird films, B-movies, fucking weird shit. It was kind of like Red Letter Media before Red Letter Media. It was my first like exposure to films that you would never see.
You could argue that he is partly to the inspiration for everything that's come after for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it was like, wow, what are all these strange films that you'd never? He could have covered like re-releases of Zombie Holocaust, shit like that. And he's done novels, and I've read some of them about Dracula in different ages, like they're called Anno Dracula.
Anno Dracula.
It's very good. It's very good. I don't know if it's ever been adapted. I'm sure they were talking about adapting it.
I thought it was adapted when you mentioned when you mentioned Anno Dracula, I was like, oh, I'm sure I know
the
that.
adaptation. They definitely talked about it. I don't know if it happened. But I was like, fucking hell, it's Kim Newman. Oh, what I say? Oh, he's here to watch a film. Oh, I'll have to catch him after the film or just be like, Kim, I don't want to be weird, but you know, I read your column for ages. It's really good. It's probably the reason why I'm here, Kim. And then these 2 guys walked up and they were like, I think these are our seats. And Kim was, well, we were just showing here. This is, you know, we got the tickets. And they were like, we'll go talk about it. And yeah, it turns out Kim Newman was given the wrong fucking seats by someone or something. Something happened and he was fucking chucked out, basically. He had to leave and he went to the other screen and I missed my chance.
I spotted him like 5 times between movies.
I never saw him again. The moments we don't take. Also, you should have told. No, I'm really joking. But I probably would never have said.
Can I just say
anything
also,
except
I talked to about 4 or 5 people during the weekend. Just because it is essentially the same people that are going in and out of all
you're
these
milling
movies.
about in the lobby.
Yeah. And
You're having a slash next to someone at a urinal, smashing cock. You got there, mate.
Yeah. Oh, love it, Kim. And every time I would come in, I was, I was just talking to someone. All 3 of you would go, talking to a strange person. So, were you ever going to say hello to Kim?
Probably
I'm
not.
going to say doubtful. I'm saying there was probably a higher chance that I was going to talk to him than you were.
Yeah, I don't like bothering people. I really don't. And I'm like, Kim Newman, I don't know. He's at a fucking festival where everyone will be saying this shit to him also. And I'm like, what am I really getting out of it? It's just cool that I've seen him. I'll live with it. It's like when I passed Limmy in the street in Glasgow, like, all right, wouldn't stop and ask for a picture or anything. He's out living his life.
For me, it would be a case of the man was such an inspiration, clearly. Like,
why are you saying this to me now? I don't have the chance anymore.
I know, just going to ruin it for you. He was clearly an inspiration for you, and to go up, shake his hand, and say,
"I wasn't thinking about it that clearly in the moment."
I know, but this is what I'm meaning it for future. I'm meaning it for the same reason that I go up to people and talk to them.
I wasn't thinking about this sliding doors moment where I didn't buy Empire, and now I'm doing a podcast about baking with someone else.
No, but it is. It's the reason I go up to people and just chat is because, like, and especially when it's a case like that.
To you. I'm not chatting to no one.
No, but what I'm saying is, if you'd walked up and just said, "Hey, like I've always been a big fan. You were a big inspiration. Just wanted to say thanks." That means that will actually mean something to him. I'm not saying it's going to change his life or make his day, but it would mean a lot to you. So why not do it?
I do think that the proximity of seat was also a factor.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I couldn't,
because you could have sidled past him and run away.
I couldn't have had the moment and then it removed myself from his peripherals, from his area of whatever. I would then have
you're like, I'm a big fan, and then sit 3 seats away going like thumbs up. Yeah.
And then start jockeying with him for armrest positions. And then he wonders, did he have a ticket or is he just sat beside me because he's such a big fan? Am I going to die?
So
anyway, it was funny.
Yeah, it was. It's just an interesting thing. It's especially in those moments at those festivals. See, if you saw Kim Newman in the street, don't fucking bother him.
I know I wouldn't.
See, if you see Kim Newman at a film festival about horror movies, yeah, you can go up and say I'm a big fan. No one's going to think you're a cunt.
I'm a big fan, right? Bye. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about.
Anyway, the thing we were going to talk about is we were at Frightfest.
Funny you should mention.
Funny you should mention that. And we've been right. So this would be my 6th, your 5th. Stupid honeymoon, and there's always a variety. There is always a variety in movies, and sometimes we've gone, that didn't really seem to be fitting the theme or
even
whatever.
The episodes we record about films, sometimes
we talk about that all the time.
To the point where I don't want to do it anymore. But
but unfortunately, this genuinely forced this conversation.
Now, yes, it does.
Because we know horror is nebulous. We do. We are like, especially with.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say, Frightfest is arguably not a horror festival. It can be called a genre festival, and genre basically covers anything that's not anything that's not totally. It's non-mainstream genres, right? So you can widen out a bit. And you can say that films with excessive gore or films with really edgy themes, edgy as in not, like actually edgy, as in actually slightly groundbreaking or doing something different. That kind of thing can fit, but it's kind of like porn. You know Frightfest when you see it, and you know when you don't.
Yeah. This was the least Frightfest you and I have experienced.
A country mile, definitely.
This was a interesting mix of completely different movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a bit odd.
It was odd. I'll say, first of all, Magpie and Time Travel is Dangerous. I'm sure they got in. Oh, right. When I talk about I'm sure they got in stuff. I'm not saying anything bad about the organisers of Frightfest at all. Respect and love them. But they're British films. They wanted to highlight British talent. Great. I don't know if this is really the avenue for it because neither of them really fit the exact mold.
No.
Magpie, if I blur my vision and I've got my glasses off, I was like, it's kind of an anxiety horror. It did make me feel uncomfortable.
It also helped that it was the first movie.
Yeah, it made me feel uncomfortable. It did make me feel uncomfortable, and that helps, right? So I'm like, okay. Time Travel is Dangerous, amazing film, really big
Time Travel is Dangerous, they straight up said this is not a horror film.
And we heard that a few times.
Yeah.
It started getting slightly silly because every time there was a Q&A, someone would come in and be like, right, guys, you've had all the scares. Now we're going to give you like a bit of a palate cleanser. There's going to be a bit of laughs. We literally heard that more than we heard anything about being scared. It was mental. Yeah. It was really weird.
Yeah.
And tiring.
So it was odd. It was very odd.
We had the two British movies and we had two sci-fi comedies. They definitely don't belong. They don't.
No, the two, arguably my two favourite movies were Time Travel is Dangerous and Magpie. Neither of them really fit in this festival.
No. Catch a Killer also, I understand the argument that it's got a lot of references to horror, but it's not horror. It really is not a horror film.
No. Less a horror than Magpie.
Yeah, I could...
Genuinely less a horror than Magpie.
I was also a bit disappointed because of... The organisers definitely, or at least some of them definitely really liked it more than we did. And I feel like it maybe built up a bit. And maybe if it had been given an earlier slot and it was more about, this has got some nice little Easter eggs. Do you know what I mean? For you guys, the director did say, you guys get all the references, you get references other people. He's probably buttering up our arses, right? But it's genuinely true. You can spot a lot of good. It's cool if you know the lore. If you don't know the lore, it's boring. But
that director literally said, one guy asked a question and he was like, I'm an editor by trade. And he was like, oh, I'd love to have a drink with you. No, he fucking wouldn't. Just gonna put that out there. No, he fucking wouldn't.
I wonder if they did. Let us know if you did.
Oh, I know. Weirdly, the director's not been seen since. So yeah, it was very weird. Like, this is not to say that we didn't enjoy this festival.
No,
it was just especially since it's the Halloween Fright Fest.
Mm-hmm. No ghosts.
No ghosts.
There were no films with any kind of ghostly apparition. I'm trying to think. The Bitter Taste had a witch. Parvulus was post-apocalyptic.
I would argue that there are 2 or 3 movies a total that have a supernatural theme.
Yeah. So it was just, it was disappointing.
It's weird.
It was very disappointing from that aspect. And I do feel, after I don't know what other years have been like, I've not Googled, but after we booked these tickets, we're going, I did have the thought, what kind of films that are horror could they get for Fright Fest that wouldn't have just been released for Halloween? It's a really weird slot for them to fill with horror movies, because you would think that any horror movie should really be releasing wide for Halloween rather than getting a premiere November the 2nd. And I was like, shit, what if we've made a big... And I'm not saying that happened or anything like that, but it's just the makeup of the films in general. I get it to some extent, like the British stuff now, all that's also good. And like you say, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed the festival overall. We had watched some very good films. We watched some bad films that were funny. But it just was a bit jarring and odd. It was.
So I just quickly Googled Fright Fest 2023
Halloween
lineup, and 2 of the movies have masked killers with knives on them. So you can arguably take from that there might have been a bit more horror themed.
There were no killers in this one to that extent, because Catch a Killer's not like that.
There were no slashers.
There are no slashers, no ghosts. So, and the horror that is there, I mean, the draft is so high budget, it's hard to categorize as well. So it was a straight yes.
Weird.
We've belabored the point as it is, but yes, it was a very strange, very odd lineup from that perspective, and arguably not really what we wanted from Halloween, when really what you want from Halloween is some spookies. And none of them were scary. Were any of them scary? Were any of them nearly scary? Advent had some scary moments.
Advent had some scary moments. Yeah, well, like literally 1 or 2 moments that...
I don't think... None of the other films I don't think tried. I don't think any of the other films were even going for that type of mood. Do you know what I mean?
Parvulos had one.
Did it?
One scare.
I don't remember. Oh, yes, it did. Yes, it did. Sorry, yes, I remember. Yes, it had 1 jump scare. Fair enough. And
that's it.
And it did go for it, and that's fine. The Bitter Taste doesn't count. I don't even know if it was trying, but it was all over the fucking place. The Draft isn't that kind of film. Animali's not that kind of film. So yeah, it was definitely an abject failure from that point of view, but it was really good. It just... independently, we had to mention it because it was a fucking big takeaway from the fucking festival. So
yeah, like all of us were talking about it when we came out, and it's again not that we didn't enjoy the movies or that makes it a complete pointless exercise. It's just you just leave it feeling with a bit of an odd feeling.
Listen,
other than that, that's our second Fright Fest episode of this year.
Our
being the podcast.
Yes.
Our being the podcast. Personally mine.
What's next?
What is next? I think we're still in Japan. It was a pain in the arse and very expensive to fly a caravan all the way back to London all the way back to the UK for the second time this year. Jesus. So next we will be still in Japan, and we will be checking out the movie Cure.
Cure, yes we will. Yes, we will. And you might see some thematic similarities to another film that was in Frightfest a little bit. It's kind of like a photocopy of a photocopy in that sense. Yes.
Yep, look out for that. That'll be coming out shortly. But in the meantime, we've got a very, 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 very long flight to catch.
Okay, thanks everyone. Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye.
Bye-bye.